MBE. How are you,
Good
Martin?
morning, Mark. Good morning, Mark.
How's things?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Yes, for a wet Wednesday morning.
Yeah, that's it.
Waiting for the sunshine to come back.
Sure, absolutely. I think we've all enjoyed too much sunshine.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we can take away from, I think this time that we've all had working from home is being able to work in the back garden, right?
Yes, yeah, really nice.
Sure. So, Martin, I appreciate your time today and jumping on to Trifle Inspire as a bit of a new concept. But when I heard a little bit of the background of what it is that you have done in your career and what it is that you're doing at the moment, I thought who better to ask as essentially the first guest of Trifle Inspire. So thank you very much for that. What I want to kick off with is what I've heard is one of your favourite questions within interviewing other people. Now that could be for jobs or interviews like this, but essentially, if you weren't doing what you were now,
Yep.
what would you be doing instead?
That's not as easy to answer as it sounds. There's that old adage that if you do a job that you enjoy doing, you never work a day in your life. And I think for probably 80% of my working day, I enjoy what I'm doing, and it doesn't feel like a job or a chore because I really enjoy doing it and I like interacting with people. I'd be wrong to say that there's not 20% of the time when, yeah, it's a bit difficult, but that's where your experience comes in. You've got to get through that. But I suppose, yeah, if I wasn't managing director than just engineering, I could do anything. Then I'd like to be a really good jazz guitarist.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. Somebody like Martin Taylor. I really like him.
Excellent. I'll have to check him out. I'll write a note and have a look into Martin Taylor. But you've picked up on something there that if you're comfortable in a job, you don't really have to work a day in your life.
Yes, yeah.
I think a lot of us have heard in the past as well. Is there a secret behind that, or were you very fortunate to find something initially as an apprentice that you just enjoyed and fell into?
I think about prior to me becoming an apprentice, I had a Saturday job at British Home Stores, and I really enjoyed that as well. In fact, I actually, when I'd done my A-levels, I left and I took my apprenticeship at British Coal. I was offered a management training position at British Home Stores, and I did. And I thought long and hard about it. I just enjoy working with people. I enjoy solving problems. I think somebody once said to me, the most stress you can give somebody when you're working is to give them a task to do, but then don't allow them to do it. And I think that's the bit that stresses me. When I can set myself, I'm a big planner. I'm big into, not a micromanager, but I really go into. I've got the discipline of planning my days. I plan my week on a Saturday morning, so it's all set out. And if I can follow that plan, and I probably pull it 60% of the time, so things get in the way. I think Monday I've got loads of plans. I don't think I tick one off my list on Monday because other things got in the way.
Yeah, so staying
but I think, but if I can plan and I can achieve what I want to do, it's that sense of satisfaction that I get out of it. And I'm interested. I'm interested in people. I'm interested in engineering. So it's
sure. And
feel like a chore.
Me on really to my following question, essentially, where what you're saying there really is that you're almost leading from the front. It's not micromanaging the way that you organise, but leading people with your background as well. And there's a classic line, isn't there, that all leaders are readers.
Yes,
well.
yes, yeah.
The more you read, the more that you grow.
Yeah.
So just on that, what book is your absolute favourite?
Well, I've started by saying that I couldn't agree with you more that all leaders are readers. I suppose I've changed my reading style a little bit now. That I used to read lots and lots of books. I'm a big fan of Twitter, so I read lots of articles on Twitter and I follow things that I'm interested in, and I get a lot of knowledge through that. But in terms of what's my favourite book, there's no contest. There is absolutely no contest, and I advise lots of other quick business people to read it and read this book. I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. And when I do, everybody's gobsmacked, and once you pick it up, you cannot put it down. And it's a book called The E-Myth by a guy called Michael Gerber. It's an American book. If you can get past some of the smolts in it, then to describe, for a book that describes what it's like to work in a small to medium-sized enterprise, and the processes you go through, and some of the difficulties you get, some of the challenges you face, and how you can overcome them. There is no better read. It describes it superbly.
I completely second that. It is one of my favourite books as well. I was fortunate I came across it almost by accident on Amazon.
If I'd got a second choice, I'm going to be cheeky and have a second choice here.
Absolutely.
It's actually a book that you have to contact the author, and I don't know whether he's still selling them or not. But it's a guy called Dr. Paddy Lund, who's an Australian dentist. He wrote a book called How to Build a Happiness-Centered Business.
Okay.
So I heard about it because it was one of Clive Woodward's top reads when he coached the England rugby team to win the World Cup. And I was intrigued that you can't actually go and buy it from a bookshop. You have to contact the guy. So I found his website and I contacted him in Australia, and I ordered one, and it duly arrived by post, wrapped in brown paper with a pressed piece of heather on the front of it.
Oh, wow.
And I unwrapped it, and I sat down that night to read it, and I didn't put it down until I finished it.
Sure.
It's not a huge read, but it's all about the perception of stress and how people perceive stress, and what becomes a stressor in your organisation. It is one awesome read. The guy was so inspirational. At the time he wrote the book, which was probably late 90s, something like that. The then current CEO of FedEx in America read the book, and he flew to Australia to meet this guy because he couldn't believe what he'd done and his ethos. It's an amazing book.
Incredible.
And I've got it. You know what? I've lent it to somebody. I don't know who's got it.
You might not be able to get another copy as well. But that's incredible. Actually, just looking at somebody else's business idea there, where it's not an open ticket to anybody can get this book either, and the way it's kind of personalised on delivery.
It was brilliant. So if you can get it, go for it.
Absolutely. No, it will be one that I will certainly research and look into. Thank you. So a little more about you as well. So you've got an MBE.
Yeah.
So fantastic with that. And obviously it's Prince Philip's 99th birthday today as we're recording this.
Yes,
right now. So a little bit about MBE and kind of, what it stands for. And what was it awarded for in the first place?
Yeah, well, I always tell people the story that. So I was awarded the MBE in the 2016 New Year's Honours List. And I can remember arriving in one Friday evening, end of November 2015. Really wet, horrible night. I had a crappy day at work, and I went to open our post box, and in there was this letter on Her Majesty's service, and I thought, what have I done wrong now? So I sat in the car and opened it. It was a photocopy, quite a poorly printed photocopy, that had got my name handwritten on it, and then what I was receiving the MBE for, which was the Service to Business and Innovation, and saying that the Prime Minister, Mr. David Cameron at the time, had recommended that I be put forward for an MBE. And it was, it was, and I think so. That was November. I think I floated then until probably end of February before it sort of dawned on me. And obviously, I couldn't tell anybody until it went live on New Year's Eve. And when it went live on New Year's Eve, I spent the next 3 days just answering my emails and messages of some thanks from people, which was really, really humbling. I don't know who nominated me. Whoever did, I'm eternally grateful. It was an extremely humbling experience. It's a bit corny to say this, but it is true. I got the MBE, but that through a lot of support that I've got, through a brilliant team that we employ,
absolutely,
and other stakeholders that we engage with. And so I remember it was Friday the 13th of May 2016. I went to Buckingham Palace, my wife and my two daughters. Prince William presented me with my MBE. It was it was. I think that was a little bit like being in a dream when you actually go into the throne room and get your MBE. But I think the most humbling and interesting part of the whole experience to me was when you're waiting to be called, you're actually in the art gallery in Buckingham Palace with everybody else who's receiving awards that day. So you get to talk to everybody else. And what some fantastic stories people have got to tell about things they've done. It was meeting the other people. That was as much as a part of the experience of being in Buckingham Palace and meeting Prince William. And it was brilliant. So somebody after I got it, somebody jokingly said to me, it actually means it obviously means member of the British Empire, which is obviously part of the honours system. But actually, somebody was jokingly said to me, what it means is more benevolence expected. and so since I've had it, I now sit on more committees and organisations voluntarily. But I suppose it's what drives me forward. And I know you're going to come onto the COVID thing probably later on, but somebody did say to me, it's part of the resilience of your organisation is around the profile that you build around your organisation, around yourself, and I think that's really helped to carry me forward through this whole process.
Absolutely, and exactly what you said there. So certainly we'll come on to COVID as well, and thanks for sharing that story. I mean, I suppose like you've said, and I could always tell in how you kind of describing it, it's very difficult to describe the feeling that you must have had
to drive into Buckingham Palace. I'm in a wife and two daughters. We're never early for things. This was the first time in our life. We were at the front of the queue. And for the guy to come out and said, you can drive it, and we drove into Buckingham Palace and into the courtyard, that was mind-blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just an experience never to forget.
Yes, really good.
Incredible and well-deserved as well. So,
thank you.
Just going on to Lyndhurst Engineering, which is, I'm assuming, where a lot of the business and innovation has come from.
Yes,
obviously now got. Obviously established since 1985. How long has it been
So my dad started it in 1985. I didn't join until 94. So prior to that, I was deputy electrical engineer at Thoresby Colliery. So I worked at British Coal up to that point. Obviously, British Coal sponsored me to do my degree and educated me. So I had 14 years in coal mining, and then moved over to Lyndhurst. And I've been there 25 years as of last November. So I'm in my 26th year now. Certainly learned a lot. I met some really inspirational people along the way. I do like to read, but I do think I'm a little bit like a sponge. I like to learn from other people. And I've met some amazing people that we're fortunate to work with or interact with who've really helped, I think, to shape me.
Sure.
Shape my thoughts.
Absolutely. And you've said something there that obviously it was your dad that had founded the company originally.
Yeah.
There's this perception as well that if you've kind of gone into a family-run business and it's your dad that's started the business, that meant that it was an easy route.
Well, I'll tell you a little anecdotal story, shall I?
Absolutely.
The day I started, it gave me a number of pieces of business advice. Well, the first one was, if you can see the shop floor, we're not doing very well. So, while the work's piling up, that's a good measure. It's a good metric of what's happening. If you can make more money making candy floss, stop welding and buy candy floss machines. So be adaptable to whatever the opportunity to present yourself with. And he also said to me that at that time we employed about 35 people. That there's a massive responsibility coming with this, because it's your responsibility to make sure that all these 35 families pay the mortgages, eat.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. You shouldn't take it lightly. And if you can't hack it, I'll give you 6 months, and I'll have to find somebody who can. Yeah. So last November, when I've been there 25 years, I said to him, "You never told me whether I've passed me for 6-month probation."
Well, 26 years in, you must have done something right.
He said he's still thinking about it.
Absolutely. So, You've kind of said that there was some, changes within, the engineering industry and the way that business is now, and it's certainly been, massive change recently.
Yes, yeah.
That we've had to adapt, and I think that's been throughout all industries. What's kind of been the biggest sort of changes within engineering that you've seen within those 26 years?
I think I'd probably turn that to more towards, and I think it's applicable to any business, and I think it's more around cultural changes. So bearing in mind, I had 14 years working at British Coal, very male-dominated organisation. It was definitely survival of the fittest. Whoever shouted the loudest won, and sometimes that shouting could sometimes actually get to physical blows. So it was a very macho environment, and I think I bought that style of management and it's with me till in days. That's the way it was survival of the fittest. That's what you had to do.
Yeah.
And I realised that was totally wrong. So I think what I've hopefully what I've evolved into, and I've seen other businesses start to adapt, is what you would probably call servant leadership. So we're there to serve the people that we employ, and that's not about being subservient to them. It's about making sure that they are. I jokingly would say the most difficult part of the job is managing people. At the heart of it, I'm an engineer. If a machine breaks down, I can take top off it and hit it with a hammer. I can't do that with a human being. So I've had to learn other techniques, and and I think certainly doing my master's level qualification in coaching, which I qualified in 2017, it's an ILM7 qualification. Give me great insight into people's psychology and psychology about people work, and that's helped me considerably. So I think I've moved from that very macho style of management, thumping the table, very autocratic, dictatorial type of management, through to where it's a consultative approach. We talk about things and we come up with a collective decision, and everybody should be involved in that process.
Yeah, and I can understand that. That I think I've heard this within kind of education there, like what you've touched on with your ILM7, that it's almost the qualification teaches you so much, just as much as what it's for helping other people.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
As well, you get that and learning along the way. So with that, what do you kind of envision as like the next big change within kind of the engineering industry?
People talk a lot about fourth industrial revolution. So I'm trying to remember his name now. There's a guy called Jason Bradbury who used to present on the Gadget Show, and he's now a lecturer, a pop visiting lecturer at Lincoln University. Is a futurology, probably the American word. And I was lucky enough to hear him give a speech last year at the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce dinner. And it was really inspiring what he had to say, and really thought-provoking. So he thinks we're actually entering what he calls a 10-year millennium. So in the next 10 years, technology is going to advance as fast as it's done in the last 1,000 years. Wow. So things like Internet of Things, Fourth Industrial Revolution, robotics, data is massive. Data is absolutely huge. I think people underestimate the wealth and the power of data. So I did a little bit of work with a guy who used to work for the Future Cities Catapult, which is a government organisation that looks about how we're promoting the cities of the future. And he told me about a piece of work they'd done and I think it was Singapore. So Singapore was thinking about installing a CCTV system right across the whole city for tracking movement of traffic. So they got involved and actually worked out if they could geo-track Uber drivers just to where they were, that's all they were, just where they physically were and how fast they were moving, that would give them a good indication of what was happening with traffic flows right across the city, which they did. So effectively, they come up with a solution to a fraction of the cost of installing CCTV just by managing data. And I think for every business, irrespective of what size you are, the impact that management of data, blockchain, fourth industrial revolution, IoT is going to have on businesses is going to be huge. So we're doing a piece of work at the moment with Derby University around smart factories, where we're trying to think about how we can apply this to SMEs, because most SMEs will think it's a big business. It's not for them.
Yeah.
So we're trying to come up with a way that we can make it applicable. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to look at the mundane tasks that businesses do, or things that they should be doing that they probably don't have time to do because day-to-day job gets in the way, and see if we can automate some of those. So initially, and we're running a guinea pig at Linda. So initially, we're just monitoring things that you would expect us to monitor, things like how we're using our energy and resources, and also how we're managing our environment. But once we've got that set up, it's dead easy then to link that into our CRM system, and we can actually then track in real time profitability on individual projects. So the ultimate goal is it gets to a point where the system we set it up will read our CRM system in real time, and if we get a project that starts to dip below a certain percentage profitability, it sends me an email and says you need to have a look at this because it's in danger of going pear-shaped. So I ain't going to be tracking every single project every day. It automates that process, and it'd be different for different businesses, different sectors. We're trying to take some of that modernity away from the mundane processes, away from the.
I mean, even within my own industry in terms of marketing, I mean, the big marketing companies now are almost stopping taking on marketing graduates now.
Yeah.
Because it's not about data collection. Data collection is so easy now, and it's not research that's important. It's the analysing of it. So actually, maths, mathematics graduates are actually becoming stronger candidates to get into the marketing industry than marketing graduates. Which when I read that was kind of interesting. So it's different, and
but certainly automation, fourth industrial revolution. Next 10 years, business will not look like this, and people jokingly say most of the jobs in the next 10 years haven't even been thought of yet, and I honestly believe that.
Yeah, I can see it with kind of the technology that you're seeing. Buildings are being built within 24 hours that are essentially being printed now, as well. So it's just incredible the changes that you do see. Okay, so that's everything that's kind of like the positive story. And fantastic. And I don't want to put a negative spin on anything, but what was kind of within your past, what's been your biggest or favourite rather, what's been your favourite failure?
Oh, that's a good question. So your first question was, you asked me what my favourite interview question was. Well, one question I always ask in interviews that always throws people. I'll ask them what they're good at and tell me why they're good at it. But also, I then ask them what they're not good at, because everybody needs to know where your weaknesses are and how you go about mitigating them. I ain't a complete finisher. I'll tell you that now. I am definitely not. I'm an ideas person, and sometimes I have to do it. I haven't disciplined myself to do it, but it's not in my nature to do it. So, what's my biggest failure? Depends with what you class as being a failure, because you learn something from everything that you do. But without going into too much detail, we picked up a contract in 2007, which was a slight diversification what we've done in the past, and not for reasons outside of our control, which were contractual rather than technical. It went extremely pear-shaped, and it nearly sunk us as a business. As it got to the point where I physically could not put one foot in front of the other. And something I always talk about in coaching is there's got to become a time when when your only option is to do nothing, just sit back and see what happens. I we got to the point when I've been on site, working on this site for 18 months in Warrington. I got to one afternoon, I got to a point where I couldn't physically walk. I was just physical wreck. And I said to my site manager, I'm going back to the hotel because I'm no use here. And I got back to the hotel, sat in car park, and at that point, I'd done exactly what I've said to other people. It's time to stop and see what happens. Then bizarrely, as I pulled in the car park, I got a phone call from somebody very senior within our client's organisation, and that was the start of the process of effectively winding the thing up and getting some closure on it. But it was extremely painful. But I learned so much from the organisation. Talk about resilience. So there's one of the books of a series of books I've read by a guy called Jeff Thompson. It was a ex-nightclub bouncer from Stoke. He actually went on to win a BAFTA. So he's big into martial arts. That's why we're indoors. But his main day job was he swept up in a factory. And he said, one day I'm going to leave this, I'm going to write a book. And people said, you can't do that. You sweep up in a factory. That's not what you do.
Yeah.
Which he did. He left, he wrote a number of books, and he wrote a short film called Bouncer, which with Ray Winston in it, which is what he went on. And he's actually on the judging panel now every year for BAFTA. Really, really interesting guy. But I think he wrote a book called Darkness, and I read that again and again and again when we went through this difficult time. But I think one of his best stories is when he was thinking about leaving, sweeping up in a sweeper up in this factory to becoming a writer, and he eventually made that decision, including his family, who kept pulling him back, and he likened it to a lobster pot. So when a lobster climbs into a lobster pot, or a crab climbs into a crab pot, they can climb back out. It's an opening. They can get back out again. And it's actually the other crabs and lobsters that pull them back in that stop them getting back out again.
Wow.
We talked about people who are making a change in your life. It's actually the other people around you who pull you back, keep pulling you back down, and you've got sometimes make that Herculean effort to climb out and see where it gets you.
Yeah, and I think there's so much like that from nature in itself that can teach us very, very valuable lessons.
Yeah.
That's certainly like an adage and
yeah.
stuff.
So that experience was, you probably look at it and think it was a failure, but I learned so much from that experience. I developed so much as a person from that. It sort of took me to a whole new level of resilience. It taught me a lot about contract law, which I'd never thought of before. And it also taught me I'll never do it ever again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's not to put a negative spin on things. It's what you learn through the process of failures and things as well. So, coming on to something that you touched on just before. So, with COVID, coronavirus, and everything, what is it that, you've had to change almost within your business so that it can continue to run effectively, whilst, minimizing all kinds of risk as well?
Yeah. I think, was it on the evening of the 23rd of March when Prime Minister said, businesses should close, I went to bed with firmly of the belief that we were going to close, and I got up early the next morning and started thinking about writing letters to guys and what we were going to do and get that message out there. And I actually spoke to at Simon, our commercial director, and said, see what we've got in the PPE cupboard and see if we can give it away, because we're not going to be needing it for a while. Which is what started the PPE campaign in the first place. Yeah. So while I was in the process of writing the letters, I took a phone call from a guy I know at Department for International Trade who'd been tasked by Bay's business department to ring around any businesses they knew, find out what was happening. And I said, well, we're setting up for closing. And he says, no, that's the wrong answer. I know your business. You can stop open. So that totally, within that one phone call, got me thinking about how we could stop open. So, part of the secret is good communication, so we make sure we're communicated and we communicate regularly with people so they know what's going off. Anybody who could work from home, we got them set up working from home, and it's definitely been a baptism of fire learning about Teams and Zoom and everything else. And I think, again going back to the IoT thing, I think we're probably using 10% of its capability of actually remote working, and it will become more and more prevalent. People we move people because we've got less people in the offices. We could distance people within the offices to give them lots of space around people. And similarly, because of the nature of work that we do, it was easy to distance people on shop floor. A bit more difficult for site crews who are going out on sites. But quickly within a week, we developed, I think, quite a nice risk assessment that gave everybody some peace of mind. Again, it came back to communication, so make sure we talk to people. It's about selling the idea to people, so bringing them with you on that journey. So we did it. Well, we must have done a good job because everybody's kept coming to work. Sold them that idea and carried it forward from there. But it starts with communication. I did speak to our works manager last week, and he said, I thought you were wrong in stopping open, but we supported you. He said, but I realise it was the right decision to make because we can manage this. And I think a lot of businesses are here who are nervous about starting back up again because of how do they manage it. I think once you put your toe in the water and you start realising you can put control measures to keep people safe, that risk and that worry quickly dissipates.
Absolutely. No, that's some great advice to some other businesses as well, that communication is so important.
Yeah.
And I think within a lot of corporate companies, as things progress and companies get larger, the communication is almost difficult. And it's almost Chinese whispers by the time that it gets to the people who need to hear it as well. So jumping ahead a little bit now, you've just touched on a campaign regarding go into the cupboard, see what PPE is in there, and let's see if we can give it away. So I want to kind of introduce to everyone kind of the background regarding PPE for NHS, that you've and a few other people, which feel free to share their names as well, that you started for the purposes helping the NHS, which is the organisation that I open with, that's close to my heart as well. So tell us a little bit like how that started.
Yes. So obviously we gave our PPE away, most of it, and then realised we're stopping open, which just gives us a bit of a challenge then about making sure we got enough stock for ourselves. But we got around that problem. So I think it was that evening I had this idea. Well, we give some PPE away, but if there's businesses who have furloughed the staff, and effectively businesses who are now in hibernation got cupboards full of PPE. I've been in this game long enough to know now what sort of stocks people keep on. Let's see if we can promote it. So we launched a bit of a social media campaign, and that had some really initial positive response. I should give a shout out to my colleague Martin Rigley. So Malcolm was a guy who's an associate of ours, does a couple of days a week for me, helping us with people development. He was furloughed, runs his own business, but he furloughed himself, so he was at home with nothing to do. So he says, I'll get involved with you. And Malcolm's very well connected. He's worked for government office for East Midlands, and, so he's got lots of contacts within the East Midlands. So our initial aspiration was to try and see if we could spread this out nationally, and I think we got to the following weekend after most businesses a lot of businesses went into furlough, and then stumbled upon another organisation called Med Supply Drive UK, who were doing a similar thing in London and the South East. And so we connected with them, and we've liaised with them, shared best practice all the way through. Slightly different model in that our model, or their model, probably their model was about getting donations, and then they decided where it was going to go. It was run by junior doctors, so they were making the call. We didn't feel that we'd got that level of knowledge to decide who got it, and for every offer a donation, we were getting probably 3 times of people chasing stuff, wanted stuff. And it's very difficult to read some of these stories, especially about private care providers. People came from people in their homes desperate for stuff, but we didn't feel that we got that level of knowledge to decide who got what and where the most need was.
Yeah.
The real step change for us was linking into initially Local Resilience Forum in Nottinghamshire, which is the multi-agency that's responded to COVID. And so we were linked into the Local Resilience Forum. They were collecting. They then decided supported by the military, decided how he got distributed, which I think was the big step change for us. And then through our network, we then recruited other volunteers. So within Leicestershire, Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, South Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, to help us collect stuff and become a repository, a deposit station for stuff that can be collected by Local Resilience Forum. And as of last week, we had collected and donated over 100,000 items of PPE, everything from masks, visors, gowns, gloves, goggles, foot coverings, all sorts of different things. It has slowed now, as you imagine. As businesses start to open up again, donations have slowed. But I think what we've said as a group of the key people who've been working on it, I think we sat here waiting for the next clarion call. It might not be PPE next time, it might be something else, but we've got some good channels, some good networks built now. And those people are probably going to go back to the day job until we're called upon to do something else.
That's incredible. You've touched on the figure of how much it is that you have raised there. 100,000 is no small figure to achieve. And all through the support of a lot of local companies.
And we've not done it for we've done it hopefully for the right reasons. Nobody's had to forget any kudos out of this. It was just there was a need. We knew there was a hidden supply, and we hopefully unlock some of that in supply
and help that transition. No, absolutely no, and that's credit to you for that. I know that you're not after the credit, so to speak, but credit to you for finding that with your colleagues as well. So in terms of kind of the businesses that have been involved in donating, and it's not about the massive large donations. It's been down to the smaller donations as well. But what kind of businesses have been involved with you getting in touch?
So I should probably give a shout out initially to West Notts College. So West Notts College could quite because obviously they have PPE, and they were one of the first donators, and have given quite a few donations to the campaign, obviously within Nottinghamshire. We've seen everything from ladies' hairdressers donating gloves, model aeroplane clubs donating gloves, right up to larger organisations who've donated masks, and really high quality masks for people to wear, through to organisations who've actually specifically manufactured stuff to donate to the campaign. So we've had a couple of organisations who've been making masks and one making aprons, who are making them as a commercial venture, but donating a percentage towards the campaign. So it's been very diverse, very diverse.
Sure, and I think the one thing that we can all take away from COVID, right, is like the community spirit that has come back. I think of people truly sticking together, and for a community cause as well. For any kind of self-indulgence.
Well, because of how we set the system up and the tracking that we've got in place, we were able to effectively say what we're donating in each county, and we wanted to make sure those donations stop within that county, so you're helping your own community. So actually, what's donated and where it went to. So we've been able to evidence that, so people can see what and we made that public knowledge for people who have donated, so they can see what their efforts have done.
Excellent. No, which is great. So kind of touching on that, how is it that right now, I know you've said things are slowing down right now. Is it something that you're still accepting donations for?
Oh yes, we're still accepting donations. So Lincolnshire, they posted a picture this morning. So Sue Harris up in Grantham posted a picture this morning that she took something like 2,000 litres of hand sanitizer been donated, and the local police have been to collect it on behalf of Lincolnshire Local Resilience Forum. That'll go off, and that's amazing. So it's still coming in. but it's not. It's probably bigger volumes of things like that and aprons rather than 20 masks here, 50, 100 pair of gloves there, that type of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, we still are open. If people do want to donate, it's dead easy. All they've got to do is email PPE 4 NHS@hotmail.com, and the local coordinator will pick that up for each county, and they'll contact the person and organise how they can donate it.
Fantastic. So a really easy route.
Yes, yeah.
Getting it to you as well. So no, that's great. I mean, what's the one key thing regarding the PPE for NHS campaign that people really need to remember here? What's the biggest takeaway that you think people need to remember?
That's a good question. I mean, one thing that goes through my mind when all this was going off, so obviously when I went to British Coal, we used to wear PPE. People didn't respect it. I just see pictures in my mind of people, somebody grabbing a handful of masks, stick them in their helmet before they go underground, and then end of the day, well, I've only used 2, but they're a bit crumpled up now and throwing them away. So PPE is a precious commodity. It has been a precious commodity, and I think will continue to be a precious commodity. So I think people should respect what they've got. At the end of the day, it's personal protective equipment. It's there to protect you. Or certainly, if I ever do go on mastermind, it's going to be a specialist subject now, PPE, because I'll tell you more about different types of PPE and how they test it. So I think it's about people respecting it. It's there to help save your life or stop you getting injured.
Absolutely. No, and that's great. So look, you've touched on mastermind, so I've started, so I'll finish.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Martin.
It's quite all right. Yes, we enjoyed it.
Speaking to you. And again, if you'd just like to share people kind of the details, with the PPE for NHS. So is that PPE 4
NHS
hotmail.com.
That's correct, Mark. Yes, any donations are great to receive.
That's great. And thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Mark. Thank you. Cheers, bye.